Hello and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Millie and I love any makeup, especially shiny, shifty, and sparkly eyeshadows. And today I'm going to be talking about two eyeshadow palettes I bought from Unearthly Cosmetics. And I'm very excited because one of them is full of shiny, shifty, duochrome, multi-chrome shades. The first palette is the Leather and Lace palette. And here's what the packaging looks like. And then the inside color story, I love it. It's got neutrals, but without being really boring. So you could use these row by row, or you could mix and match. And then there's a column of shimmers as well, and I just look at these tones. I also love that there is some depth, so I'm going to be pairing this palette, specifically the mattes from this palette, not so much the shimmers, and I'm going to be pairing it with the Don't Be Jelly palette. This one has previously come out. It had round pans. It's been like a year, I believe, since this one came out, and they have revamped it and they have improved it. And just look at all these beautiful duochromes and shiny, shifty shadows. There's a couple of different textures in here for sure, from what I could tell from swatching and just even looking at the pans. Overall, these are very smooth, and some of them are a little bit more like toppers, and some of them are a little bit more opaque. Now, I thought that some of these were actually like black-based multichromes, specifically DBJ5 and DBJ9, but they're almost like black-based multichromes without the black base, which is awesome. And I'm going to be showing you a couple of swatch comparisons, of course, as always. However, I didn't have that many because, again, the shades that I thought were black-based multichromes are not really truly black-based multichromes, or I can't really match the tones. So I'm going to be showing you some swatch comparisons, and then I'm going to show you 4 looks pairing these two palettes together, as well as bringing in some other Unearthly Cosmetics palettes. And then at the end of the video, I'll give you some of my thoughts. So first up is DBJ1 versus Rosette from Clionadh Cosmetics. I think you can see that Rosette is much darker and the shift is much stronger and much more obvious. So definitely something I noticed is that some of these shades are not as shifty as some of these other like similar multi-chromes, but that have a little bit more of a black base. And Rosette is also shinier in person. It just has a bit more like sparkle to it compared to DBJ1. And I did blend out just the edges, so you can kind of see like there's a little bit of just grayness happening here versus here. It's just not really, it's just kind of blending out into my skin tone, which is nice. So it's not going to muddy anything up. Next up on top is DBJ2. And then below that is ACI 18 from the Nihydran palette from Adept Cosmetics. And these are immediately thought of this shade from Adept when I saw DBJ2. And this is definitely more of a duochrome, but it looks very gold once you have it on. But they do have a little bit of a pink base, but you can see these are pretty much the same. I do want to point out that DBJ2 definitely felt and swatched better and easier than ACI 18. I was never really a fan of ACI 18 in the Nihydran palette. DBJ3 at the top, below that is Trefoil from Clionadh, and below that is 31st from Touch of Glam Beauty. Definitely you can see the difference between Trefoil and these other two shades. It is darker, it is obviously a different tone, and the shift is different, but this one was like the closest green shade that I could find that I have as a black-based multichrome from Clionadh. And I think 31st is very similar, if not almost exactly the same. They definitely look like they have the same tone and shift as well. So again, I'm going to blend this out just a little bit so you can see that it doesn't really look like it has much of a base compared to like this. It's just much darker. You can really see kind of the gray happening there. And then this shade over here doesn't also have a black base to it. DBJ4 at the top and Midnight Rose from Pastel Roses UK below that. This is the only shade I could find that was somewhat similar. The tone and just the texture of DBJ4 is so unique. I just couldn't find anything similar to it. It is just so beautiful. This is one of the squishy shades, so this one is pretty wet feeling. You definitely want to go in with a lighter hand with this one. But yeah, these are not direct dupes. They're somewhat similar, but the tone is a bit different of the purple. DBJ5 at the top, below that is Forge from Clionadh, and below that is Nebula from Black Moxy Cosmetics. Forge is really the closest tone I could find straight on, but they're not definitely that similar. So I just blended these out so you could kind of see what I'm talking about here. Again, just showing that this one has that grayish base to it. DBJ6 at the top, below that is Confetti Kisses from Devinah, and below that is Altair from Devinah. These are the only shades I could find that were to DBJ6, but still not quite. The tone is a bit different, and the texture is totally different. DBJ6 feels wet, really squishy, while the Devinah shades are more like sparkly, grainy almost. They're not squishy or damp by any means, and they are just like a different kind of sparkle. DBJ7 versus 26th from Touch of Glam Beauty. This is the only shade I could find that was similar in tone, but you can tell that DBJ7 is just not as shiny, and the shift is just a little bit duller. This one feels a little bit different from DBJ1, DBJ3, and DBJ9, just in terms of like how slick those feel. While this one is still pretty metallic, it feels a little bit less like thick slick, if that makes any sense. Last up is DBJ9 Inspire. I do not have anything to compare to DBJ8. I just don't have anything similar. It has a bunch of flex throughout it. So this is the last comparison. You can see Spire is definitely darker and the shift is just a bit more obvious. But they are both really, really shiny. And again, I blended them out so you could see the difference in the base. Priming with the Gimme Glow Shadow Primer. I'm going to be using some of the new Cine Grace brushes that they did send to me in PR. I do feel like in general some of these are not like my ideal shapes just from what I can see, but obviously I have to use them first. So I'm going to be going in with the Leather and Lace palette. I'm first going to use really the bottom row, so going in with Venetian. I'm just going to pop that right into the crease, and I'm going to do kind of like a monochromatic look. Mixing in the Don't Be Jelly palette, just taking that, adding a little bit more, so you can see this really is just going to, my blush does not go with this whatsoever, but I am currently in the process of filming a video, so stay tuned for that without giving too much away. And then taking Aubergine on the outer corner. I think I'm just gonna bring in a little bit of Mahogany, just like right in the crease to really deepen it up. And then I'm going to go back in with the larger blending brush. The thing is, the sleeves that these came in, like the plastic sleeves, had little stickers of what the brush numbers are, but they don't have it actually printed on them, which is too bad. Go back in with Venetian just to help blend that out. I really feel like I want to reach for some of my smaller brushes though. And just a little bit of Venetian on this smaller brush to kind of really focus in over here, and then go back in with Aubergine. This outer corner, just blending it out like always in a wing shape. There's this really cool flat brush. I've definitely not seen anything like this similar. I have something similar, but this one is a bit more on the unique side. So I'm just going to take that to connect with the outer corner with my lower lash line, and that is perfect for that. I'm going to take Venetian under the rest of my lower lash line. And then I'm going to go back in with Aubergine just a little bit out here, just to deepen it up even more. And just bring in a little bit more of this shade. I feel like it's kind of like sticking down. I don't know if it's the primer, or maybe it's just the brushes. I'm not used to using these brushes. So I don't know if you knew, but Alien Cosmetics actually has like an eyeshadow primer, the shimmer base, and it's kind of like a little gel, clear gel. Reminds me of the one from Karla Cosmetics. It has a little bit of a smell, but not much. There's a little bit on the cap, so I'm just going to use that. I'm going to put that all over the lid. Let's see. I think I'm going to use this brush from Cine Grace. Again, I don't know the name because they don't have it. It might be a little bit too much. I'm wiping the excess off on my hand, and I'm just going in and spreading it. Putting on DBJ8 from the Don't Be Jelly palette. This one is very squishy in the pan, so it's not picking up the best with this brush. I think I'm just going to go in with my finger. Just going to layer it over. Ooh, it's so shiny. It has a bunch of flex throughout it, which I love that. And I'm going to go in with DBJ2, and it's going to go in the inner portion. I picked up way too much, and that's why I had some fallout. This one is way smoother and drier. It's not as squishy in the pan. And then for the inner corner highlight, I'm going back into the Leather and Lace palette, and I'm going to pop on Chantilly. Oh, the shade is so beautiful. This would make an amazing highlight. Actually, let me use it as a highlighter. I'm gonna use the fan brush from the Sigma and Samantha Ravindale collab, and that definitely picked up a lot, so I'm gonna, yes, oh my goodness, we need this shade as a highlighter pan immediately. Wow, that looks absolutely amazing. I haven't even swatched this palette, so I had no idea. Wow, Can we just take a moment? I put on the Mystic Lashes from Unearthly Cosmetics, and then in the waterline I have the LA Girl Shockwave Neon Eyeliner in the shade Vivid. It's not very vivid. On to the second look, priming with the Gimme Glow Primer. Taking Whiskey from the Leather and Lace palette and the Refer 14 brush. I'm switching back into my brushes. I just feel like I think I prefer the shapes just so much more of these. And it's just going to go right in the crease. So again, it's going to be a little bit more of a monochromatic look. Taking Saddle on the outer corner. I wasn't going to do 4 looks really anymore because they just take really long time to film and edit, and it's just a lot of work, so I wasn't going to do that. But honestly, I feel like I want to do it with these palettes because I really feel like if I really want to get really get to know these palettes, I need to do more than 2 looks at least, which I was going to do 3 looks, but we'll see. I might end up doing 4 looks just because I really feel like I want to use as many shimmers as possible from the Don't Be Jelly palette. And so I've been mixing in a little bit of Redwood as well. Just kind of going back and forth. I'm just going to take a little bit of leather and just deepen it up here, but just keeping it close to my lash line. I'm going to go back in with Saddle on this brush and just kind of mix it all together. To deepen it up over there a little bit. Taking Saddle on this brush again from Sydney Grace. I do really like this brush. This is a really fun, different kind of brush. And then Leather. Again, just a little bit. And I'm going to fix that in a second. I'm going in with Whiskey under the rest of my lower lash line. And so going back in here. Just blending that out. Taking some of the shimmer base, basically almost all over the lid. And I'm going to go in basically with a DB5 all over the lid. Oh, this shade is so beautiful. Just really want to be able to see the whole shift. It's not picking up the greatest on this brush in particular. Definitely gonna go in with my finger as well. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna use my pinky and just really layer it on. That is so pretty. To finish off this look, I'm going to put down DBJ2 in the inner corner. It's perfect for an inner corner highlight. Which is our Mystic from Unearthly Cosmetics, and in the waterline I have Rose Lens from Melt Cosmetics. I'm actually going to go into the Witching Hour palette, as the only other shades in the Leather and Lace palette are the green shades that I haven't used, and there's only 1 green in the Don't Be Jelly palette. Sorry for the sirens. I feel like I want a lighter purple. I'm going to go into the In the Dark palette from Alien. I'm going in with Ascend just to help like blend out this edge. Did I need to go into that one? I don't know. But I did anyway. Going into the In the Dark shade from the In the Dark palette. And I'm going to use this Sydney Grace angled brush. It's a little large, but at least it covers a large area. And I'm just going to be putting that right into the inner corner. It's like a dark blue. And then I'm going to go back in with this brush and just start kind of blending out the edges. Taking some lighter powder that I set my face with. Actually going to go in with a little bit more of In the Dark. See if I can like really just blend this out here. Also, funny story, turns out that the Sydney Grace brush is literally almost exactly the same as the Morphe brush that I was talking about in a previous look. They're literally almost the same. Anyways, so going in to that brush, going into In the Dark with that brush from Sydney Grace. Oh, it's just so good for the lower lash line. think I'm going to go in with Paranormal, actually, from the In the Dark palette. Going into DBJ4, the shade is one of the squishy shades, so whoa! I am going to use my finger to apply it. I don't want to apply too much, and I do feel like these shades are just best really applied with a finger. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I'm going to take it up into my crease a little bit. That is such a stunning shade. Ooh, I love it. And this one is a fun one to layer too, because it is a bit more translucent, as you can see on my pinky. Like, it doesn't really have like a base to it. It kind of shears out as well. So I could actually probably use this on the inner corner as well, which is what I'm going to do just to see. There we go. So you can see my skin from underneath it. Oh, that's so pretty. So pretty. Here's the finished look. I put on the Boundless Lashes by Alien Cosmetics. And the shade is so beautiful. It's got like a purple shift to it. Taking Ascend from the In the Dark palette. I don't know why I just like can't remember the names of all these palettes. And I'm just going to pop that right into the inner third of my entire lid. There's a little bit of blue poking through because I accidentally went in with blue when I really meant to go in with a purple first. So I'm putting this down, and then I'm going to go in with a blue. So I'm going to go in with Paranormal right in the center. Just kind of start merging it into the purple. Really trying to keep it in the center of my lid. And then going back in with Ascend. It's getting a little too dark there, so I'm going to go in. I wiped off my brush and I'm going in again with a setting powder. Just to feather out the edges. A little bit more Paranormal here. And then I'm going to taking the small Cindy Grace brush, and I'm going in with Herbs from the Witching Hour palette. And I'm going to pretty much put this just on the outer third of my lid and just slowly start blending it out. Actually, I think I'm going to use Glamour Ghoul from the collab palette, the Hauntingly Glamorous palette. And I'm just going to kind of blend that out here. Go back in with a little bit more Herbs. Just using all the palettes from Unearthly to create these looks and to pair. And so then now I'm going to go in to the black shade Leather from the Leather and Lace palette. And I'm just going to pop that right onto the outer corner. And slowly start blending it out to just deepen it up here. I don't have like a dark green. I'm just going to mix in Herbs a little bit more into it too, just to deepen it up. Just like really merge together nicely. Taking a little bit more Herbs. Kind of wish I went in with Glamour Ghoul actually. Just a little bit of a lighter shade, but it's fine. And then I'm going to take just a little bit more of Leather. I feel like it kind of came off just a little bit out here. And then I'm going to do my lower lash line, so I'm taking Herbs right underneath here. And then Leather to just deepen it up just in here, just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Taking Glamour Ghoul underneath the rest of my lower lash line. Alright, so onto the shimmers. Taking some DBJ9. Oh, did I mean to do that? And I'm putting that on the, putting that against my lash line. I went back in and I did spray it just so that it would be hopefully a little less fallouty. And then above that, I think I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Above that, I'm going in with DBJ3. And I am dampening the brush. And I have quite a bit of fall, but hopefully it will just come off. Look how beautiful this shade is. And these two blend together so nicely. I'm going to use DBJ6 as my inner corner highlight. It's got a little bit of purple and green in it, so I feel like it might be a nice bridge. It does have a little bit more of a base to it than DBJ4, so you can kind of see the green there. Here's the other finished look. I put on the Boundless Lashes from Unearthly. And we've got lots of shiftiness going on here. These are looking really beautiful on the lid. So first I'm going to talk about the Leather and Lace palette. I gotta say, this is definitely the good matte formula. I did try the Sleepover palette previously, or right before this palette, and I wasn't a fan of those mattes. They just felt thinner. These just have like a specific type, like the way that these work together and blend together and build on top of each other just really reminds me more of the other Unearthly palettes, such as the Hauntingly Glamorous, specifically because that is one of the first Unearthly Cosmetics palettes that I tried, and I fell in love with their matte formula. So these are definitely more like that. I did not use these two green shades up here, so keeping that in mind, I definitely have to dip into this palette some more, so take this more of like with a grain of salt, like more of like a first impressions. I also only partially kind of used the shades Chantilly in my inner corner and as a highlight, which as a highlight, actually let's put it on as a highlight right now because I don't have anything on right now, and I kind of I'm gonna use it again because I really love it as a highlight. It just looks like it's wet, and I love when highlights do that. It's got a little bit of like a peachy champagne-y tone to it, which I think is extremely flattering, and it's got a lot of like transparency to it. So anyways, I do have to try these two shimmers and really get a better idea for this palette. So it will be included in my monthly palette ranking for sure, and I will let you know. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a dedicated video on this. I'll probably try to feature it in a reel or something, but I don't think I'm going to be doing a dedicated video which is multiple looks, which is why I included in this video, because I thought it'd be fun to pair with some of these beautiful shimmers. I feel like there's a really nice variety of shimmers in here. You've got blue, purple, pink, magenta, and just also like different tones of purple. Definitely a little bit more on the purpley side for this palette. I think some of these are shiftier than others, and some of these are more like duochromes, and you can see it from the swatches and just from seeing them on my lid, but they are really beautiful, very smooth. I do want to point out that the shade DBJ4 and DBJ6 and DBJ8, they're very squishy, especially like almost wet, especially DBJ6 and DBJ4, so I know I will have creasing issues with these, so I will have to use them mostly just like on my lid without bringing them up into my crease. So you can actually see this one was creasing on me, and I was able to just kind of like rub it out with my finger, and I have no problem having to do that throughout the day. Like, it's really not a big deal. If I can just fix it that way, then that's totally fine, because I do usually experience creasing issues anyways. But these definitely very squishy. So if you don't like to have squishy kind of eyeshadows and you might have hooded oily lids, then definitely keep that in mind before purchasing this palette, because this palette is expensive. I do want to kind of break it down though, because it is $86, but you can use a 10% off coupon, which brings it down a bit. And then if you average it out and you divide it by 9, it's really like less than $9 per shadow, which I really feel like is not bad for what you're getting in here at all. That being said, those are probably the most sparkly shades in here. I think you can really kind of see like this is like a whole nother level of shine, and then this one is still like really shiny, but it's just a little bit different. As for the other metallic shades in here that are super smooth, such as the DBJ 1, 3, 5, and 9, these are like almost black base multichromes without actually being like having that black base, which I think makes them so much easier to use than black base multichromes, keeping in mind that the tone of them is still like on the like a deeper side, like it's like a darker green, a darker purple, but I think that way you can definitely blend them out into the crease if you wanted to a little bit more and not risk muddying up whatever you have in the crease with the gray base. So I really feel like that's really nice, and I really feel like that's the future of some of these black base multichromes, is just them being like darker but not necessarily having that black base. I feel like I've been seeing it more and more. I have a couple of shades from Black Moxy Cosmetics that are like that. And then the shade DBJ2 is pretty dry. It's actually really interesting because It just feels very, very different from the rest of these. It is definitely like very, very sheer. You could probably use this as a highlight actually. But this one does feel noticeably different from these other shades. So I would say between both the palettes, it's really totally up to you. If you don't have any special shadows, if you're looking for some duochrome and shifty and multi-chrome shades, and you don't really want single eyeshadows, because I do understand that everybody wants to buy single eyeshadows and they prefer something in palette form, then I think this is a great option. So let me know which look was your favorite, and if you plan on already picked up some of these palettes, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribe. There's so much indie makeup content, lots and lots of tutorials uploading my channel, and much more to come. You don't want to miss out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.